Hello, and welcome to How Female Focused Brands Are Winning in Male-Dominated Sports. Today, we are going to talk about how the sponsorship landscape is changing and evolving, and female-focused brands are making bold moves in this space, in the male-dominated sports space. From fashion brands showing up at the NBA to cosmetic brands sports. These collaborations showcase a major shift in culture, and it's a huge opportunity for brands to take advantage of a blue ocean market. So let's go ahead and introduce you to us, dive in. I'm sure you noticed that we are all from the same place. We come from Zarnowski Collective. Zarnowski Collective is, we are, we approach everything and we're in the business of delivering brand defining experiences. We do that by utilizing the expertise of our 4 specialized studios, and we approach everything with wonder and curiosity and make sure that we're delivering, these brand experiences that are going to bring the fans closer to the experience and really turn those moments into memories, whether that's through fan activations, environments, permanent installations, temporary installations, all the things. Our goal is to create an experience that you remember and tell a story that'll continue to stick with you. And today we have a lot of our really amazing strategic and creative storytellers on the call. I'll start off with myself, starting lineup. I am the director, Susie Sapp. I'm the director of growth and partnerships. Why am I here? Well, I have literally grown up in the sports landscape, both from life and experience in career. Starting off just kind of playing all the sports, coaching the sports, and then really living them through experiential marketing in my career. Anything from the large, Super Bowl activations all the way to the youth sports activations. I've had the privilege to work with a lot of amazing brands throughout my career. I did play volleyball in college, so fun fact about me. Did play a little bit post-college, humble brag. And if I had to pick a walk-up song, because I'm from the Lou and I'm proud, it would be Hot in Her, the explicit version.
Always the explicit version.
Always.
That brings us to me. Hi, everybody. My name is Lexi Korn. I'm the director of marketing at Zarnowski Collective. Why am I here? I know, right? So in the past, in my illustrious past, I've been a creative director on the ad agency side. I've worked on some pretty major campaigns for sport brands like Adidas and Reebok. My special sauce, I like to call myself a bit of a brand storytelling specialist. It's what I've been doing for the entirety of my career, and now I apply all of that knowledge and skill into my role as the director of marketing at the collective. Fun fact about me, I am a WWE fan, and I'm completely unapologetic about it. If you want to have a discussion later, we absolutely can. I think everybody probably has my email address now from the networking here, but either way, I'm happy to have the discussion with you. I would argue it might be the most feminist sports entertainment organization in the United States right now, if that's not enough to pique your interest. My walk-on music is Bad Reputation by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, primarily because, excuse my language, she's just a badass lady, and we're here to talk about more badass ladies. So that's enough about me. I'm going to move on to my friend Margaret.
Thank you, Lexi. And she definitely will tell you a lot about WWE. I was stunned and then so educated. It was fabulous. I'm Margaret Shaw, Senior Experiential Strategist at Zarnowski, and my sports experience ranges in the advertising world as well as experiential. So whether it was sponsorships or events, or in one case, a very cool docuseries that we did for a NASCAR driver, it's been a wonderful vehicle to build affinity among existing and new audiences. So it's something I'm really passionate about and really believe in the power of when it comes to marketing. I'm a big sports movies and docuseries person, and my walkout song was superseded my previous one because of watching the America's Sweethearts Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders on Netflix, and now I can't not have Thunderstruck as my walkout song. And did I try to learn the routine? Yes, I did, and no, I will not be performing it today. Next time, email me.
That's a great follow-up.
Reasons to network with us later, either an argument about WWE or to see Margaret perform Thunderstruck.
I don't know.
Just give me a football field, I'll be good.
She's ready to go.
I'm sure there's someone on this call that has access to a football field. So we have we have broken up our conversation into three sections. Why are these brands? Why are these female-focused brands showing up and investing in this male-dominated sports space? How can brands authentically capitalize on the moment? And then what is this going to mean for the future? What are we going to be talking about, and how are we going to be talking about it in 5 years, 10 years? So the first thing we want to talk about is why. Why are these brands showing up in this space, and why now? So the key is that the stats are in. They're speaking for themselves, right? 44% of male sport viewership. I mean, it's women. 44% of male sports viewership is women, and that number does scale up and sometimes down depending on the actual specific sport. And if you go in and kind of look at things, I mean, women are watching. Women are there. 30 to 50% of the attending audience is women, and 47% of the NFL. So 47% of the people sitting in the stands in our biggest stadiums in the US are women. And my favorite stat since 2020, you see 115% increase in monthly betting being contributed to women, which is an incredible, incredible opportunity. And 51% of the bets in the Super Bowl this year were done by women bettors. It's insane. And to me, it just seems so wild that, we're having this conversation, and I'm so excited about it. So ladies, what has changed? Why are we seeing this shift?
Well, and I'll start. I think that in some ways, well, first of all, let's start with, we can't fully identify exactly why we're seeing this shift just yet. It's like, yeah, the stats are in, but we don't have enough data to really attribute it to one single thing. But I think that we've discussed a couple of hypotheses, if you will, of why this shift is happening. One of which is that we're seeing ourselves as women being represented more on the sidelines and in the executive suites, right? So as of the 2024-2025 season, it's a record, I think 15 women hold full-time coaching positions across 10 NFL teams, which that's the first time that's ever happened in history. And then we have a lot more women who are showing up in more positions of power within male sports, like our friend Jeannie Buss here, which she's probably the person who we're most familiar with in terms of having an executive position within male sports, as she is the controlling owner and president of the LA Lakers. But you also have folks like Uzma Ron, who was recently named the CMO of Major League Baseball. Huge news there. And then Renee Anderson. So she's the EVP and Chief Revenue Officer of the NFL since 2019. So we're seeing more and more of these female faces who are, they're on the field, they're on the sidelines, they're in the executive box. And, as we like to say, you have to kind of see it to be it. You have to see it to want to be involved in it. And I think we're just seeing a lot more female representation across male sports.
Absolutely. And in addition to the representation we're seeing, I think even outside of the sports, the teams, the broadcasts themselves, there's been a wonderful momentum going on as it relates to entertainment with sports. So, when we're thinking about you're sitting on the couch and scrolling through Netflix, how often is it that you see fantastic sports documentaries and docuseries and movies that are coming out all the time? I think the great thing about these two is that it adds a level of emotion to it. So something that you can connect with that you might not otherwise know just watching a broadcast. So these narratives are really powerful. A great example of this is for Formula One. We know that it really has heavy European roots, but the Drive to Survive, Formula One on Netflix, has dramatically increased American viewership. I think it was something around 30% of F1 fans said that Drive to Survive was one of the primary drivers of their initial interest in the sport. And you might be surprised to know that the fastest growing demographic for that is actually females age 16 to 24. So these types of things really speak with people, they connect with people, and then it encourages them to seek out the sport in other ways.
Yeah, and speaking of connecting with people, you can see right over here Margaret's favorite documentary that was on Netflix, what influenced her walk on music and all. It's right here.
Yeah.
Right here.
I could probably Photoshop myself in that photo, maybe.
But Margaret, right, we can't forget about maybe the biggest influence on sports.
Oh, absolutely not. So the Taylor Swift effect is real. I mean, not only is she influencing global GDP, she's also influencing female viewership in sports. With her relationship with Travis Kelce on the Kansas City Chiefs, her fan base that is so passionate, it really sparked an interest in football among these Taylor Swift fans. So this borrowed affinity that then translated towards sports. And a recent survey found that 20% of millennials and 24% of Gen Z credit Taylor Swift's presence in football as one of their primary drivers for interest in the sport. So she's good on the stage, she's good in the stands, she's really helping sports out.
Incredible.
Love that. So we're seeing a clear cultural shift that's causing an increase in female sports fans, and the women are showing up. We're watching the highlight reels. We're absorbing the content. We're there for it. But what besides us being there, women being there, is making us so attractive to savvy sports marketers?
It's the money, y'all.
You got to follow the money. It's the money. The female dollar is definitely a force to be reckoned with. The she economy, also you'll hear it referred to. And it's because women are truly strong drivers when it comes to financial decisions. When you look at day-to-day purchase decisions, day-to-day consumer spending, women make, or in some cases influence, over 85% of those decisions. That is a massive influence that this group has when it comes to spending in the US. And not only that, in the last 5 years, we've seen a trend that the rate at which women's income is growing and the rate at which their spending is growing is actually outpacing their male counterparts. So it's a trend here. They have the means, the motive, the opportunity to really increase engagement with brands through spending. And in addition to the spending and consumption behaviors, we also see on the wealth side and female controlled assets that by 2030, we'll see about a $34 trillion value in female controlled assets. And that is up compared to a decade ago of just 7 trillion. So there's momentum, there is need, and there's interest among women buyers.
And in addition to that, not a lot of people are paying attention. So in the sports space, women are still an underserved audience. Like, let's be honest. So think about the last commercial that you saw that seemed to be aimed at women during a male sporting event, and the Super Bowl doesn't count. Was it Bounty paper towels? Was it Totino's pizza rolls, which has been made fun of by SNL now for decades? But chances are it wasn't a product that was for women. It was a product meant to support a woman in her role within the household. So in that way, that's kind of the typical direction that a lot of marketing has been going when you're observing male dominated sports. And I think that the shift that we're seeing now is a lot more people are standing up and taking notice that more women are present. Women have more money to spend than ever. And we shouldn't just be limited to Bounty paper towels and Totino's pizza rolls. Am I right, Suze?
So right. So in summary,
Did you guys like
sum
that
everything
transition?
up.
Did you like that transition? It was delightful.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That nice, easy slide transition. So yeah, more women are showing up, whether that's, we're seeing ourselves on the sidelines or the boardrooms or in the executive presence, or the storytelling is better from the team level, from the, player level, from the marketing level, from the brand level. We're there. There's more women there. We're absorbing the content. We are taking it in. And we are controlling primarily most of the spend, the household spend, with money to burn. But still, there's only a handful of brands that seem to have noticed. And this is just a clear blue ocean. It's a wide open marketing landscape to take advantage of. So let's talk about how brands can take advantage of this space. So first of all, let's chat about what not to do. Let's talk about who maybe hasn't done it right or what won't work. I mean, the last thing you want to do in this space is, with marketing to women, really in the sports space or in any space for that matter, is to take an existing strategy and shrink it and pink it. It doesn't come across that way. So what are some brands that you guys can talk about that just have missed the mark?
So I think one of, unfortunately, the classic cases of Shrink It and Pink It that definitely received a lot of negative backlash was Bic. So back in 2020 or 2012, they launched the Bic for Her line for pins. As we know, they've historically also had like Bic for
This
Her
is a lady
razors.
pen,
Yes,
Margaret.
it's a
This is
lady
a pen
pin.
that's made for ladies. You can
Yes.
tell because it's pink.
Yes, it's pink and it's slimmer because
Mm.
we have smaller hands. But believe me, I am perfectly capable of using a full-size pen. But when these were launched, it sparked a lot of backlash. I think it's interesting because in the health and beauty space, which in razors, they hadn't received that level of scrutiny. But for something like pens, where it really felt like they were trivializing women and their capabilities to literally write with a ballpoint pen, it did not come across very well. I will note that this is something that the brand absolutely took notice of. They discontinued the product and they learned from it. And in 2019, they've actually kind of turned over with a new strategy for really championing gender equality here. So they launched in their razor division the Made for You razor, and it's gender neutral. They know anybody can shave with this type of razor. So just shows you one example that really didn't land right, and then how they've adjusted that strategy.
And then, Margaret, did you mention the pink tax element here?
No, I didn't, but please,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
important.
Yeah, so that was perhaps, guys, one of the most exciting things about the Bic for Her. Not only was it always the perfect accessory, but it costs about 30% more than your average Bic ballpoint pen. So this pen was also subject to the pink tax, which was not an ideal scenario for our friends at Bic.
And
If
if it's
anybody, if
slimmer,
anybody on the call is from Bic, we're sorry, but we also know that you've learned from your errors.
yes, yes. And it's
Yeah.
slimmer, it's less raw material, but
But let's
expensive.
All right, let's move on to our next fail. So you guys probably remember the gift that gives back. In 2019, Peloton released this holiday ad that showed a husband gifting his wife a Peloton bike. She nervously, as you can see, documents her journey over the course of a year. And I mean, let's be honest, right? It was pretty sexist. It was a bit tone deaf. It implied that the husband wanted his already fit wife to lose weight. And her anxious demeanor throughout is really, I think, what threw a lot of us. In fact, like if you look at her face over here, she just doesn't look thrilled. She looks more terrified. So there was quite a bit of backlash about this particular spot. I believe some commenters remarked that the video content that the young lady creates felt more like a hostage video. Never a great sign. But that backlash led to a $1.5 billion drop in Peloton's market value. And it sparked a pretty widespread debate about body image and gender roles in advertising. So again, sometimes we have to be able to see the negative, and we have to make errors and mistakes to be able to correct ourselves. And that's what eventually makes for better marketing, better advertising, and better experiences for brands on the whole.
Absolutely. An example of this in sports, and we should note, there are people from sports organizations here. If any of you worked on this, like it was a different time. But this example here was something that we came across with Tampa Bay. And this was a online resource that they created, this women's movement called Red, to get more women interested in football, which absolutely is something that is valuable, especially as we're growing women audiences. The way they went about it, unfortunately, just didn't land well. They created a educational tool online that was a bit more of like elementary style education. For example, one of them, the terms of the week was play clock. I know time when I see it. So this type of initiative, like it definitely could have been great for like parents and children, for instance. But unfortunately, with the tone and the angle they went after did not land well with women, and it caused a lot of criticism for Tampa Bay.
And then our final example was the IBM Hack a Hairdryer campaign. This happened in 2015. 2015 is tough year for advertising to women. But so this campaign initially was concepted to encourage women to pursue careers in STEM by inviting them to repurpose hairdryers in innovative ways. The backlash really came from the fact that it was a hairdryer. It almost, the way that the messaging was built almost implied that the only reason why women would care about a career in STEM is if they could use it to create better beauty products, which definitely is not the case. You know, for some of us it's the case, but not for all of us, right? We're allowed to be more than just women who want manicure tips and don't know what a play clock is and want to lose weight for our scary husbands. So critics argued that this campaign trivialized a women's capability in science and technology by associating it with a domestic item. So in response, though, IBM promptly discontinued the campaign. They issued an apology. They acknowledged that it did miss the mark for some, and they reaffirmed their commitment to promoting STEM careers, which again, sometimes when you fall down, you just got to pick yourself up, admit that you didn't nail it this time, brush yourself off, and try to do something to support that community, which is exactly what IBM did.
I love that you ended on a high note. Like, let's listen. We live, we learn. There were some missteps, things that happened. And luckily there are a lot that are doing it right. And it definitely seems like contextual relevance is the key in this space. You have to show up, either the brand, the product, or the approach needs to be authentic and feel in tune with the female experience. So let's flip the script. Let's talk about some examples of brands that are doing it right, that are in this space and are really doing it really amazing.
But we're going to flip the script. But before we flip the slide, I am going to issue a trigger warning. I'm about to talk about tampons, everybody. Is everybody okay?
Buckle up.
Buckle up. It's time to talk about menstruation. It's going to be okay, I promise. We're going to talk about Sequel. Sequel is a startup that was founded by former Stanford athletes, and they are redefining how menstrual care is showing up in sports. So they became the first tampon brand to officially team up with a college athletic program. They offered free products to Stanford's female athletes during the 24-25 season. Later, they became the official tampon provider for the new USL Super League. So they're supporting women's pro soccer. And then, most recently, in a groundbreaking move, Sequel partnered with men's soccer team DC United. That's right, I said men's soccer team DC United, to stock tampons at Audi Field. They acknowledged the volume of females who were supporting fans and wanted to make sure that they knew that Sequel was the brand that was supporting them as well. So next,
I was just going to say, with Sequel, it's so interesting just to kind of learn a little bit about the product. If anybody wants to dive into it, it is a women-owned brand, and it was designed for the female athletic experience. So it's actually designed for women competing in sports. So another amazing tidbit about Sequel. So definitely go down that rabbit hole and do some investigating there.
and trust us, you'll be fine. 51% of the population gets a period, so, or did at one point. So moving on to the next uncomfortable topic, shapewear. So Skims just became, well, not just, but they did become the official underwear partner of the NBA, WNBA, and USA Basketball. So this could definitely seem like just another average licensing deal. It's really more of a culture shift, which is what we're talking about here today overall, right? So this is a brand, again, founded by a woman who we all know and love. And originally it was strictly shapewear, but now it's grown and it's supporting athletes across every court, male and female, and anywhere in between. So they champion comfort, confidence, and inclusion across every level of the game. We think that's pretty cool.
I have a major brand crush on e.l.f. and what they're doing really in this space all over. But what they're doing in the motorsport space it's just an amazing story. They are really approaching it in a really authentic way. They're doing it kind of in this deep level where they're going through the sponsorship side, the experiential side, the authenticity side with their driver. Catherine, they are a sponsor of Catherine Legg. She has a car with e.l.f. branding. And if, for those of you that don't know, Catherine Legg is the only female driver in both out on the track. Pretty much whenever she's out there, she's the only female driver right now. And what e.l.f. is doing is they're utilizing their branding strategy to celebrate all of the female drivers that have come before. So they're really raising up the entire the entire group that has gotten Catherine to where she is and have, come up with her. And they also did this really fun activation called the lip oil change, which was a really authentic activation, basically saying like, you don't have to just be, a motorsports fan. You can still be a woman. And motorsports actually is between, I want to say it's like 45%. I don't have the exact stat, but I believe 45% of more motorsports fans, around that number, are women, which is a little bit of a surprising fact because I don't think usually people view that as a very male centric space.
Absolutely. And it's really cool to see how they're showing up. Like, I love the photo of the young ladies here, kind of nurturing that next generation of fandom, which I think is wonderful. Another great example here that we have is actually in the financial and banking space, which is Ally Financial. So Ally in 2022 made a pledge that they would, in their marketing efforts, devote equal amount of dollars to male sports and women's sports. This was something that they had anticipated that they will achieve in 5 years. But in diving into it, they had actually realized how challenging that is. Their director of PR had mentioned that the inventory as it relates to women's sports and broadcasts is just a lot lower, and the viewership is a lot lower than the male counterparts. So it's been something that they've really been, not only for themselves growing and trying to make sure they have that 50-50 split, but also advocating with the industry of increasing visibility of women's sports and increasing broadcast priority of those as well. And most recently, they were very excited to announce that they replaced US Bank as the banking partner of the WNBA. So that was a very big move for them, and a very strategic one as well. Next up here, and advertising is my first love. I can't not talk about the Super Bowl here with the spots. Super Bowl attracts over 60 million women viewers in the United States. And Nike had quite the year at the Super Bowl. So Nike hadn't shown up or had a spot in the Super Bowl since 1998. So for the first time in 27 years, they decided to run a spot. And it didn't just focus on the shoes or the sport, it focused entirely on women athletes and actually the scrutiny and double standards that they face. So this was a huge landmark return moment for them, and it shows that they recognize the importance of these issues. Under their new CEO, Elliott Hill, this has been a strategic move on their part to return to their roots and really have the athlete as their North Star, which is what they say. So this was a great example of that, using these wonderful female athletes as some of the champions in this big brand anthem moment. In addition to their TV spot, they also had product placement here with Serena Williams and SZA both rocking Nike-owned brands, which is Converse. So this was not only a great marketing moment for them with communications, but also with product placement. And then next up here, which I know this spot caused a lot of conversation at my Super Bowl party. It was Novartis. So, seeing a pharmaceutical company having an ad in the Super Bowl isn't unheard of, but the approach that they took was very bold. So their ad this year for the 2025 Super Bowl, called Your Attention Please, was about breast cancer and the importance of screening and detection. But they used this tone that was really kind of poking fun at society's obsession with breasts. So it definitely caught people's attention. It sparked a lot of conversation, but it delivered a really important health message.
Yeah. So, I mean, these are all such great, examples of how brands are showing up and integrating themselves into this space. I think, they're saying, hey, we know you're here. We're here too. And we want to speak to you in a really authentic way. So let's talk about the cultural shift and the brands that are capitalizing and killing it. Like, what's that going to mean for the future of sponsorship strategy, right? So first and foremost, I mean, brands are going to follow suit. Like we know that a lot of brands are going to follow suit, and soon. I mean, you can see the movement happening. A lot of our good examples are new. They're fresh. They're happening right now. We're seeing them live. So what industries do you guys feel are best positioned to capitalize in this space on this opportunity?
Well, I think that we're going to continue to see the trend of skincare, cosmetics, hair care, your usual suspects, right? Fashion and apparel, especially after Skims becoming the official undergarment partner of all of basketball. I think we're also going to see an increase in that reproductive health and menstrual care. Um, Not only in the tampon space again, yeah, but birth control apps, fertility tech, I think definitely has a space here. Just products that feel really inherent to the female experience. Other areas that are a natural fit are probably like your wellness, self-care, and in that realm, I'm talking less about weight loss. I'm talking more about supplements. I'm talking about ClassPass. Talking Pilates, bar, spin, things that keep you healthy and fit. Um, I think on top of that, there's also the mental wellness piece. I think that we could see do really well here. Therapy platforms, meditation apps. A lot of those campaigns are already targeted towards women, so I feel like they really have a space here as well. We also know after the most recent Olympics, it's, more and more athletes are coming out talking about their mental wellness and that being such a huge part of the game. So I think that having that feminine perspective and that admittance of like not everybody is at 100% all the time, that's really going to lend itself nicely to different therapy and wellness platforms working their way into the sports space. And then, like, let's be honest, right? Groceries and meal planning is still disproportionately influenced by women, especially for families. So I think services like Instacart could really make moves here by focusing in on their female demographic.
Yeah, and let's not forget in the health side, the sleeper market of the menopause market. There's a lot of movement there. There's a lot of products coming up. It's really becoming more not just focused on the women, but the people around the women that are experiencing those things. So there is a real market for it, even focused outside of just that female market too.
Right.
Absolutely. And in addition to the more female forward products and industries and services, I think some that you'll see that are a bit more down the middle or 50-50 split, but that you haven't always seen women depicted in some of the marketing would be more on the financial side or the business side. So for instance, we have banking, we have taxes, we have budgeting platforms. And it's important to remember that until let me think what it's called, in 1974, the Equal Credit Act, women had to have a male co-signer to open a bank account, to get a mortgage. So that wasn't that long ago. But now, in a recent survey, they asked women, would you consider yourself to be the CFO of your household? And 49% of women said that yes, they identify as the primary financial planner in their household or for themselves individually, which I think just speaks volumes around the role and how that's shifted and the mindset and the confidence that comes with that as well. So you'll see some examples of this in marketing with messaging or imagery that's depicting women more. I know I loved the TurboTax Super Bowl spot this year with Issa Rae, depicting the chaos of traditional tax planning. And then in addition to more women feeling this financial ownership and wanting to plan strategically for themselves or their families, you also see that on the business owner side. So if you're looking back at 2023, I think was the most recent report, 14 million businesses in the US are owned by women, and that accounts for 40% of total US businesses. So that is a significant chunk of American commerce here that is being led by women and women decision makers. So when you think of tools that can support businesses such as e-commerce platforms or marketing or operations, that is definitely ripe to appeal to women audiences. So, as we talk about this, it's not a matter of them shifting their strategy to be more female, but perhaps to have a more multi-segmented strategy of the different ad sets that they're putting out there, the different activations. You don't want to kind of, water it down and try to be completely appealing to everyone with your message, but they're really increasingly seeing the priority of making sure that they're speaking and connecting with female audiences.
Mhm. I love that. And these are all such like great examples, and they're definitely going to be industries where we're going to see a lot of growth, and I'm excited to see it. I can't wait to see how people show up because of this strategic approach and the fact that this culture shift is challenging creativity, which is something that we have to, being in the industry that we're in, we obviously love to see it, love to have those conversations and come up with those solutions. But I mean, really any brand can play in this space, right? Any brand can do it. So what are some tips that you would give a brand or, have a conversation that for brands wanting to make a play in this audience?
Yeah, so I think Margaret kind of mentioned it earlier, but I fully agree with this. Like, stop trying to be everything to everybody. Don't dilute your message or your activation to appeal to women and everyone else. This market is worth hyper focusing on. Section 1 of this talk proved that without a shadow of a doubt. The engagements that are going to work best aren't going to be super broad. They're not going to be all encompassing. They're going to be more focused on the female experience and what those deeper insights really show us. I think that's going to be the really key, like, number one thing that I'll be looking at is making sure that folks aren't diluting their message. Like, yes, we're for women, but we're for everyone too. This is the moment to have certain segments of your plan and take a stand and say what you mean and speak directly to women.
Absolutely. Well said, Lexi. I think really another thing that I would encourage brands to focus on as they're considering how to engage these audiences, whether it's through sports or through other vehicles, is really around a holistic mindset and creating experiences. You don't just want to slap a logo up onto a partnership or an activation. You want something that is unmistakably you, that adds to your overall brand narrative. And it's something that they remember and that they form an emotional or really strong attachment to your brand versus just having a presence as a logo.
Yeah, that is true.
Experiences are sticky.
Yes.
They are indeed. I don't, my next big thing is avoiding tropes at all costs. There's no quicker way to lose your audience than to play into category assumptions, right? We saw that come to life with Peloton, didn't we? All women want to be fit and skinny and lose weight. And it's like, yeah, but like, we're going to do that on our own terms. We don't need you telling us about it. So, I think the important thing here is that the experiences that these brands come out with that are hyper focused on women, they have to come from a point of view where it's being created with women instead of for women, because that's how you're really going to understand the female experience. It's like, you can't come to market with something that's like, yeah, women like to shop and we're going to use that as an insight. You can't do that anymore. It just doesn't play. You can't shrink it and pink it. So I think that the brands who are coming from a place of real deep insight and who are making content and experiences with women are going to be the ones that really win here.
Absolutely. And then with this one here, it's around your brand and your essence, and that you don't want to compromise your brand and the equity that you've created to make room for women, because you don't need to make room. They're already there. They already belong. So as you're considering what tactics to do, what partnerships to do, consider that they've always been there. Now it's just about recognizing their presence, recognizing and leaning into value so that you can create something that they want to engage with and that they want to continue their partnership with.
And we're going to pause here for a screenshot.
Put it in your recap email when you send it to your team after attending.
I feel like we should pose. If we're in the like in the corner, we should be like pause for effect. I mean, and what's a good presentation without some key takeaways? Let's round it all up. Talk about, how we can really take this with us forward, and what amazing insights so far. Thank you guys so much for everything you've shared. The first key takeaway, I mean, the shift is real and it's strategic. We're not just showing up to watch. We're reshaping the entire sports audience, and the brands that are smart enough to notice they're going to be ahead. They're going to be ahead of the game. They're already there. They're paying attention. And that kind of goes into our second point. We have to be authentic. Authenticity is non-negotiable. It keeps coming up as a resonating point when we talk about what's working, when we talk about our key takeaway, like we talk about the tips on how to do this. It's just be authentic. Know your audience. I think that's kind of a marketing specific, but when we start to really kind of dive into this particular space, women in the sports landscape, it's really important to realize that you can't just shrink it and pink it. It has to make sense, and it has to be built in relevance, intention, and lived experience. Everybody sees through it, and you can't get away with things like maybe you did, I don't know, who knows, a long time ago, but we have to be really key to that authenticity. Female focused brands are changing the sponsorship game. I think it's so interesting to me when you think about, just the official beverage sponsor, the official beer sponsor, the official apparel sponsor, the official underwear sponsor, the official tampon sponsor. I mean, these are some things that are going to come up. They're going to change the game. This is a big deal, and it's a really, really big opportunity, and it's not going anywhere. This is not going to bounce back. This is not what's happening right now. This is where the market is going. Different brands are getting invited to the table. Teams, brands, people, everybody, people are thinking about, the athletes are thinking about who they want to be partnered with, who they care about. So it's changing the game, and we need to all be very aware of it. And the final takeaway is, this is not a moment. It's marketing. It's a market. It's real. It's happening. Any brand can play, show up with focus, the insights, and proof that women belong in the story, and come back with, the research and the lived experience. And it's gonna make a real difference, and it's gonna move the needle, both from the sponsorship side and from the brand side. So yes, we have time, which we're really excited about. We actually never fully rehearsed this to know how long it was going to take. So it was a real guessing game, but we have time for questions. And I don't know, I don't know if we are able to see them though. Are we able to see questions in here?
I'm going to be honest. I can't see anything because I'm screen sharing. So I'm going to need.
Stand by, keep talking. I love that, AC. I think that's AC putting us up to the task of keep talking, assuming that we can do that, right?
He said, yes, it is him.
I know that we kind of talked internally about, how we could continue this conversation. And I know we were kind of talking about if we had any additional questions or anything else that we would kind of throw out there. I mean, really, like, are there any other brands that we obviously couldn't talk about everything, right? We couldn't put everything we see, everything we're hearing, everything we found in our research that we shared in our Teams chat as we were doing this entire the content. But do we feel like there's any other brands that we want to call out, or anything that we're seeing that we really wanted to, continue to talk about?
Well, I was going to say there were some very exciting vintage ads that Margaret shared with us from a book that she has that were
the content.
If you think,
do we feel like there's any other brands that we want to call out, or anything that we're seeing?
It's called Outdated Ads, and anytime I open it, it is equally hilarious and horrifying. So yeah, those did not make it into this presentation.
They were a little bit, luckily they were a little too old.
If you're looking for some light reading, check it out, Outdated Ads.
Check out some 1950s marketing.
Yeah. Like cigarette ads, some hair care. Also, a lot of those brands are no longer around today. So I was kind of like, I wonder if this is why. You never know. Yeah.
I think some of the campaigns that hit the cutting room floor, if you will, when we were going through looking at some examples of some really great work that's done a good job of bringing women more into the sports space. One of my favorites has always been has been Always Like a Girl. I mean, my background, I think I mentioned earlier that, I am a former creative director, but anybody who works with ad agencies knows that creative directors have to come up as either an art director or copywriter. And I came up on the copy side. So leave it to the copywriter to really love any campaign that takes a notoriously kind of derogatory or negative phrase like a girl, which is historically used to belittle somebody's performance, and a brand trying to flip that on its head, which I really love that the Like a Girl campaign did that. It was sending a message to women, and particularly young girls, that no, women aren't weaker than men. It's flipping like a girl into being something that feels powerful and empowering. So what if it wasn't an insult? What if it was a compliment? And I really loved how that campaign tried to take something that is just embedded within our language, something that people say pretty regularly and maybe don't even really notice that they're saying it, and tried to flip it on its head and change its meaning a little bit.
Yeah. And that campaign was really on the cutting edge. I mean, that was back in, I think, 2014 when we were looking into it. And, you know, that was a decade ago. But when you think about some of the momentum we've seen since then, it's just accelerated. But like that one really stood out to me. I know Dove has always just done fantastic work around female empowerment and confidence. And they too were on the cutting edge in the early 2000s running those types of things. So yeah, on the comms side, it's really cool to see the messaging evolving and doing it in an authentic way.
Yeah, one of the things, and we could have an entire other session about what's happening on the women's sports side, so that it took us a lot not to tip that way in a lot of scenarios because there's so much exciting movement in that space. And just the business and how everybody should be investing in that. But I digress. The one thing that I always come across and I really love, and really just kind of all the marketing across this particular brand, but Bobby, they are oh my gosh, they're sponsoring the National Women's Soccer League as the official formula sponsor. Which to me, as we were kind of talking about this, yes, it is in the women's sports side, so it's a little bit kind of outside of our context, but changing the sponsorship game. So you're talking about like normally where you're looking historically at these teams, and obviously on the team side, you guys know a lot more about how you're drawing in sponsors and having official this and official that and official way more than I do. But the idea that there's now an official formula sponsor, to me is just like, it's just so amazing. And we kind of talk about, you know, the different things that are happening in this space. And there's just so much opportunity in what that can mean. And you know, Bobby has this campaign that they're doing around soccer mom, and it's both on the field and off the field. So it's really just this beautiful campaign that really kind of raises up the role of mom. And they also are supplementing that with feeding areas and lactation rooms and stuff all over the stadiums and the National Women's Soccer League. So a lot of to me, just a lot of really great momentum and movement happening with that particular brand. So I'm excited to see what they'll do if they, you know, can go into this space, if they get into the men's space, or really continue to see what they do on the women's space as well. It looks like we might have questions open, by the way. I just saw one pop up. What does future success
I
look
feel like if I touch anything, I will break the screen share. So
I have it pulled up, so
We'll
I
read it
will
for you.
ask. As much as I can see, I will ask. What does future success look like for your group? Meaning, what is something that will be proof that y'all are on the right path? Y'all love it. Who asked that question? Raise your hand. We can't see anybody, so go ahead.
So future success for, I'm assuming our company or our clients with Zarnowski. I think one thing from a strategy perspective when we're chatting with our clients is around just multi-segmented approaches. And when it comes to an experiential activation, that's hard because it's not like in media where you can create distinct ad sets and be like, okay, here are the parameters and we're going to serve this group of creative up to these users and this group up to this users. Because in experiential, everyone is in that space. So you have to carve out micro moments or small areas or create an attendee journey that efficiently caters to all of those audience groups, but still creates a holistic journey. So it's hard to speak to specific examples for this one. It could be an awesome topic that we dive into in another session like this. But I'd say success would be making sure that we are keeping in mind all of the different audiences and their needs, especially as we're seeing increases in certain demographics, such as female or even younger audiences. I think that's a huge thing as well, especially in experiential, as we're seeing, Gen Z wanting and craving these in-person experiences, they're now interested in the pop-ups and interested in the festival activation. So I'd say that would be it for me from a strategist perspective, is really creating these intentional attendee journeys for multi-segments.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it so well that Lexi and I don't have anything to add on to that. But I do think, I mean, we have the challenge of, we need to keep learning and we need to stay ahead of the trends so that we are coming to the conversation and coming to the table to talk with potential clients or clients or partners to make sure that we know, we want to be helping everyone to show up in that authentic way. And I think when we are showing, we're someone else is presenting about what people are doing right, and it's a project that we help produce on behalf of our clients, I think that's when we're like, yeah, we've done this. And we unfortunately we do have a few that we wanted to show, but we couldn't show certain things. But I think as long as we are attached to brands that are doing authentic activations and really allowing both from the brand side and our team to be very strategic in how we show up to this audience, I would say, that's a success metric for us for sure.
Yeah, Susie, I'm glad that you mentioned that. That's exactly what I was going to say, but unfortunately, like mom life really came into play over here, and it was getting a little rambunctious upstairs, which is why I did you all a favor by keeping myself on mute. But you definitely nailed it, Susie. I think that's it for me. That's what success looks like, is being able to show up to market with an authentic message that really does resonate with women within the sports space. It's not pandering. It's not, it's not utilizing tropes. It's not all over the place. It's not trying to be all encompassing, but being able to produce something that feels like it's really speaking in truth to women and it resonates with women. I mean, honestly, if you're looking at this market and you're looking at their presence and you're looking at their spending and their buying power, that's how you win. So to me, being able to have not only an authentic message, but a message that truly resonates somewhere deep within those female buyers.
Absolutely. It reminds me of the screenshot that I sent you two when we were working on this. So I went back and found it. This was a Nike ad as part of their So Win campaign. It was a quote. And it says, "Women's sport isn't the future, it's right now. We're seeing it in packed arenas, in TV ratings, in the way people are showing up for the game like never before. Commanding attention isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about making sure that when you step up, everyone takes notice." So I think that really goes back to the authenticity piece. It's not about, how prominent your work is. It's about how authentic it is. It's about how well it connects with people and builds that relationship.
Yeah, I think in layman's terms, we call that quality over quantity, right? Were there other questions?
There are
There's wonderful tools out there that you can use for audience testing. I've been behind the two-way, one-way mirror, whichever way it is that you can't see me. I've been behind that mirror watching focus groups. There are also online tools that can be a bit more cost effective as well. Some of them are great for even facial recognition. Some of them, like you play the ad or it shows the piece of creative and it'll show you the emotional reactions on a time basis. So there are a lot of tools out there. You have to take everything with a grain of salt. There's no measurement that's perfect. But the more you can, test and put some of your theories to data and see the reception it is, the more insulated you are, especially if you're an agency partner or someone supporting another brand creating this. It makes sure that you're checking the boxes and that it also kind of protects you as a strategic partner to show that, you've done your due diligence and that you really put all that you can into this. So that's something I'm very passionate about, measurement. So getting off my soapbox, but there's a lot of stuff out there.
I was going to say, I actually want to amend my previous statement and say, make your stuff with women and make sure that the women in the room know that they are empowered and that their opinions are welcomed, appreciated, and valuable. Because I mean, like, let's be honest, right? I as a person who was born a woman and continues to be a woman, I am never going to know what the experience of being a man is like in the United States. I'm never going to truly understand that on the same level that my male counterparts will. And the same goes vice versa. And if you presume that you understand the female experience without consulting a woman, then that's usually where you run into trouble. So I think that not only is it important to just get those women in the room, but making sure that they know how valuable their opinions and thoughts and feelings are when they're in that room, I think is also mission critical.
We have another question. And I know we're running out of time, so I hope I didn't cut you off. How do you see NIL transforming brand partnerships in the future? I actually really love this question because this is something that keeps coming up, and I think it's going to be a constant conversation in all of these like, strategic sessions. I think this is going to be coming up in a lot of different brand conversations. Lexi, did you hear the question?
I did not.
How do you see NIL transforming brand partnerships in the future?
Well, I think, did you want to take that one, Suze? Actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. When you start to look at the individual as a brand, it's a really interesting dynamic. So I've had the luxury of attending and being in kind of these women in sports events just recently, really just kind of looking towards like some of the research we were doing for this and just kind of involvement and some momentum that we have going on the Zarnowski Collective side, and getting to know a lot of these women who are at the highest level of their game. And I mean, on both sides, you've got both sides coming into this. And I think what you're getting and what you're going to have is you're going to start to see it's really about the storytelling angle. First of all, you're literally telling the story of a human, a person, how they got from point A to point B. And then you're getting this very, very personalized brand dynamic and brand connection, because yeah, you're probably going to have people that sign up or connect with brands for money. You're going to have that. It's going to be $1. There's going to be a monetary exchange. That's going to happen where maybe it's not this crazy authentic, like very deep dive, but then you're going to have people that take this very seriously. They're going to be very much like, what brand do I want to be connected with? How do I tell that story in parallel with my own life story? And then also like fitting that into like the brand dynamic or the team dynamic or the league dynamic. I think it's just deep. It's deep storytelling that is challenging us. And like it goes all back to this authenticity. Like you cannot fake authenticity if it's you. It's you. Like you can't show up and be like, maybe some people can. I personally cannot. I can be like, I love this brand. It means so much to me. Like people see right through that. So I think that it's like if you're tying yourself, in the NIL space, it just challenges the depth of the story that you need to tell.
Yeah, and we know people are so multifaceted. So those types of sponsorships, you're not just showing them on the field or on the court. The docuseries that I worked on for the NASCAR driver, it was actually for a partnership with a agriculture brand because he grew up on a farm. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, we are out of time. This has been amazing. Thank you all so much. Please know that investing in women's sports or women brands in male sports, it's not charity, it's good business. It's important to know. Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate you. Wish we could have seen you. Thank you for all the questions.
Ready? Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.